Hello and welcome to another Best Junglers episode, this one for patch 15.8 or 25.08, and we have a nice little shift to the meta overall. People are realizing some junglers have been pretty strong for a while and are now gaining popularity. Others were nerfed and removed as they deserved, and others were reworked and are still very strong. So as always, we will go over the best junglers overall, as well as for low MMR and high MMR, but to apply all of these to the updated Season 15 jungle courses, you absolutely must head to Virkayu.gg. Not only do I have a free jungle improvement resource, I also have a dedicated program with jungle video courses, jungle coaching classes, a jungle VOD library. We already have a lot of community VOD reviews and coaching classes for Season 15, sharing all the tips and tricks to reach new peaks in this season. All the fundamentals you need for right now are available in a ridiculous amount of hours for content tailored for your MMR so you can climb to reach your peak rank as fast as possible. So to hit your peak rank in Season 15 and jungle diff every game you play, head to the link in the description below or to Virkayu.gg. Alright, we have chosen to keep Naafiri first because despite her nerfs and hotfixes, it hasn't changed the core problem with this mini rework. Ability to clear decently, ability to PvP anybody, and ability to build a lot of ability haste, while being a bruiser and therefore being way harder to kill, while still maintaining that upfront damage to kill all the squishies who just simply can't turn it around anymore. So much so that you're going to be seeing a lot of Naafiris going Smite Ignite now, due to, being able to hippity hop over walls now. Always was a big problem when you gave a static champion this mobility. We've seen it with Wukong and now we've seen it with Naafiri. However, while that is still a cool mechanic and we enjoy her being in the jungle, in general, her power is just still a little bit too much in terms of the I kill you, you can't kill me, I have mobility, I don't need flash, I have bleed damage, and I'm relatively easy to pilot. That being said, she's not an auto win, she's not, 85% win rate. It is way more normalized, she's simply the highest win rate, best performing jungler overall, but there are many junglers that are close to her in terms of overall power, so we are getting closer to the Naafiri balance. And one of those champions is going to be Lilia because, she was doing well, she was still strong, and then they buffed her E. And a lot of people think about this in terms of, oh, well, she's chucking E's down the river or down the mid lane. No. If you're using it in a fight with high accuracy, or you're using it to farm, you get the benefit of higher damage and lower cooldown all the time. Now, obviously, they did readjust that last patch, but it's not enough to offset the overall buff of the ability in the last couple of weeks. And as such, she still provides that which she always provided. A stronger early game than everybody thinks, strong skirmish ability from early to late, insane healing, insane sustaining, and with bruiser builds, and kill ability. Also because, she's really fast. Lilia is back to bringing the obnoxious. And speaking of that, we have Yarvin IV, a very powerful champion in the right hands, which is almost anybody's hands, but again, you don't see a lot of people playing him. They should be playing him. The EQ flashes and flash EQs all have great skill expression in tight moments. That's where you see the extra skill set available to those who understand his ceiling, but his baseline is really accessible. It can be played into basically absolutely anything provided you understand, farming tempo and you don't have to force ganks on the champion. As always, good at everything, master of nothing, but with very little weakness. And another champion that people are realizing has very little weakness is Xin Zhao. As we have been doing on this channel, we've promoted this champion for over a year. He has been strong, he will be strong, and the buffs he got were not necessary, such that I'm getting DMs from High Elo Jungle saying, wow, Xin is actually OP, I'm banning this champion. Which obviously, there are people who can play into it decently, but as someone who's played against a lot of Xin Zhao metas over the last 10 years, if he wants to get in your face and it's a good jungler, it's a very difficult matchup to navigate if Xin Zhao is going to be getting in your face and getting in your laners' faces in a way that you cannot counter. And smart jungling will allow that to happen where you can't necessarily always counter jungle him, and then he will translate that to tracking you very well, giving up some camps just to get in your face. But he does farm relatively well also. Just a straight up, well-rounded, very strong PvP jungler who can absolutely high tempo his way to quick victories. Kha'Zix is looking a little weaker because against some of these champions we just mentioned, he doesn't always have the best time, including others that are coming up on the next page. The thing is though, Kha'Zix has always been about a player's ability to understand the best build path, rune set, and evolve path for his playstyle in that particular game or meta. This has shifted over the years many times, but Kha'Zix overall can easily amplify the Econ playstyle with a Profane Hydra build. You can also go to the Conqueror build path, which, if you're good as a Guru and you can pull off, don't always recommend it for climbing for most people, but contextually, you can definitely run it, especially with the passive buffs from last patch. Or you can just straight up do some E-Tech with your full lethality and squash everybody in your path against a full team of squishies. That diversity is what makes a good Kha'Zix player able to basically adapt and evolve to whatever matchup he is facing. Much like Kane, the same reason I like Kha'Zix all the time is the same reason I like Kane. Some people think or have said in the comments, you know, am I biased towards Kane? No, he is objectively strong. The win rate is good. There are a huge amount of OTPs and high elo across the world on this champion. The items are good, the forms are good. It's about choosing the correct one and executing properly. There is a skill level in Kane. I know a lot of people don't like to admit that, but there is. There's a balanced approach to jungling that just rewards good Kane play. And of course, being able to hit your spells, be in the right place at the right time, rotate, sequence well. All the good jungling things you guys know all the time, Kane is just a master of taking with him and allowing you to OTP to high elo. And with very little friction, might I add. If you pick Shadow Assassin correctly and Ross correctly and you build both correctly, the only reason you can't climb with this champion to high elo would be your jungling, which is a good problem to have, my friends. It means your champion mastery is there. Let's just nail down the jungling and you're all gonna climb very, very well. The champion is good. Much like Hecarim of the Rohirrim. Well, he might as well be because he's got 7 gigantic legs that are gonna run over absolutely everybody if it is played correctly. I know that's obvious, you know, oh, if you play correctly, yes, of course. But objectively, you don't need to worry too much about almost anything when you're playing Hecarim. The build variety is what I love the most. You got the lethality build path, you got the bruiser build path, you got the more supportive Zeke's convergence build path, and it's all on your ability to hit R's, hit E's, and to twirl your helicopter Q as much as possible. But a lot of Hecarims either overcommit on ganks or overcommit to farm. This champion will reward you greatly once you get a few of the mechanics down and then look very clearly at your farming 80% rule and when you want to gank and who you want to gank with your ultimate. Truly a hidden power in this game. Now, Nocturne, I have been saying, is a hidden power. I do believe he's better than where I've put him here as a champion if you main it or know the champion. However, he has seen a few rougher matchups. Certain champions on this list here like to play against him just to take him out of the game before he can get that ultimate spike. And they can also beat Nocturne 1v1 pretty easily in the early phases if they can get in his face. So a bit more variability in terms of Nocturne's matchups and the meta of this patch, but the champion overall is still mighty fine, mighty juicy, and mighty lethal. Much like Fiddlesticks, who's mighty lethal on the A tier page as he conducts the suck of your LP. You know, Kha'Zix players always freak out when they see a Fiddlesticks. Nunus always freak out when they see a Fiddlesticks because that effigy blocks a snowball, which is hilarious. But mostly he's just slept on in terms of how quickly he can come online, the different runes he can pick and play. Just an amazing OTP champion for this season. You're not going to see a lot of nerfs or anything directed to him at all. People are going to forget what he does, and as always, a great fight later on is always going to be a winning condition. Whereas Vi is a winning condition all the time, her win rate data still does not support where she should be considering she's an easy to play champion. But in an era of Lilias, Zeri's, Hecarims, high mobility, you need a lockdown ultimate, and why take one that requires any more than one brain cell? Press R, lock people down, chain CC them with your Q, make sure you're engaging, peeling, and target swapping as you should be. Go into a bit more of a carry focused build here, not your full-on supportive engaged tank build unless you're in high elo or in an organized scenario, and Vi will carry you to salvation. And that salvation better not be the moon because Diana will be waiting for you. Win rate's a little bit down now, meta is shifting a little bit. We have the Lilia with a percentage HP, the Jarvans that are difficult to kill, Hecarims who can R and just run away. So matchups again becoming a little bit more tedious, but don't let that distract you from the fact that this bruiser AP assassin split pushing team fighting thing is a 1v9 solo queue's dream. Unlike Viega, who's dreaming of things he can never have, and the rest of us are dreaming to take 2021 back when we had to go through that ridiculous story. But in terms of his jungle power, it is there, and it's coming back a little bit, and he's back to being Viego a little bit, not quite since the nerfs, and yeah, Viego's strong. Just go and farm and kill people and get resets. High quality analysis. And that's because I really wanted to talk about my favorite Shadow Isles jungler, Yorick. It should make you just want to put on Lamb of God and walk around and bonk people on the head on the beat while spamming your ghouls all over the place to farm it up. Yes, he is much easier to play in terms of micromanaging your ghouls and such things. You just let Maiden do her thing unless you want to send it off by pressing R again. Off you go, split push here, create some pressure. Look, he is just a good jungler. He has been in the past as an OTP thing, but now you really can go here and play this champion. His first clear is a little weaker than it has been, and it is a little better this patch from the buffs we just got. But it's all about getting online and then using your PvP power to absolutely smash people. Even early, you absolutely smash people. And then, of course, you can solo Barons, split push, you got yourselves the Trinity Fours, the Shojin, Leandri, Cyrilda's Grudge, Sterix Gage, Black Cleaver. If you need to ditch your team and split push in the MMR you're in, you can do that so effectively. I'm a little sad they didn't bring this out a few years ago, because you know me, I always talk about your macro, your split push, your pressure release. Yorick just does it all. So does my Volleybaba, because he's back in the fray after that W buff last patch. A small little buff nonetheless, but it's a spam spell basically, and now hits even harder. A lot of build variety you can go, from Iceborne Gauntlet, Black Cleaver, Cosmic Drive builds, to my Trinity Force Titanic builds, to your regular Sundered Sky builds, and I can't believe I'm seeing content where people say, the new Volibear build, and it's just Rod of Ages Naviri. That's like saying Smolder's a new champion release, come on now. But overall does provide a lot more of that ham-fisting you might need early game, and you're seeing that a little bit with the meta. You know, Jarvan, Shinshao, Lily is better than you think. People enjoy getting a little bit more active here. And that's where something like the Yorick and something like the Volibear flies under the radar a bit, because people won't realize how strong they are in that sense, but that they can also farm up 7, 8, 9 TS very easily into split pushing and dominant team fighting, while-rounded champions. Unlike Talon, who, again, we have been saying is strong for a while. We made a best junglers to main and slapped him in there because, again, he is strong. I always promote Talon jungle, which is weird because I think it's an abomination. Something with that mobility should not be able to farm without absolutely wheezing. He should be stuck at 5 CS per minute flat, almost capped. Okay, that's a bit extreme, but I never let my personal objections color a tier list, and so Talon has to be here because his farming is pretty good, and his rotation, obviously, as you've seen, is insane. But mostly, his in-fave pressure becomes obnoxious to deal with, especially if you're a champion who cannot PvP against him. And then once he's got that all-in, the dive, the ultimate, what exactly are you doing to a hard snowballing Talon? He's like the hyper-mobile Rek'Sai Shinshao combo that you never knew you wanted. And if you don't want to play it and you just want to ban it, that's fair play too. That's what I do. And finally, we have Nunu and Willump. Some people are still delusional thinking they're weak. They are not. They are obnoxiously strong. And in fact, if everybody built them correctly, I'm sure we would see some nerfs. But that has been the way for basically the last 4 years at this point. You can build full AP, but then you will be countered by anything that can CC you and blow you up. So just build the Liandry's tank tech, which lets you do the same damage because you ain't dying. And now we'll do our classic shimmy over to the low elo page. A little bit of a mix-up here in terms of order. Nocturne returns to the top for obvious reasons, but Virkayu is performing incredibly well. As I said, he's getting back the power he lost through changes to the meta, the champions, and of course the nature of the game. These things are always fluid, there's a lot of variables, but Virkayu's performing top-notch in low elo. Mumu, of course, is your destructoid, team-fighting, drain tank kind of thing that just does everything you need to get gold. You want it ASAP? Use a Mumu to get there, and then you can worry about your champions afterwards. Likewise with Briar, but I do feel like there's a cap there unless you are a specific, Chinese OTP savant. Likewise, the dogs are great down here, as well as their Shepherd and Yorick, giving you access to the split push when your team ain't following orders. You forsake them for turrets and pressure because low elo players will always over base forward. Just understand, back and forth. Don't push and die. Push, force rotations, back off, cut, counter jungle, pull back to objectives. If you're splitting and dying and then blaming your team, you ain't splitting correctly. If you're trying to rotate the team fights when you could be splitting and everybody's dying and you're losing, you're not splitting correctly. But for the others, it does allow you to be way more present with those team fights, so choose which playstyle you really want to embody because everything here on this list provides everything you need to climb out of elo hell. And enter a whole new elo hell known as low master, except I won't do that because that's cringe, and everybody that likes to insult high elo players has no friends. But when you are high elo, you typically have a pretty good knowledge of how things should work, which means your champion pool can slightly change, and you can actually play Lee Sin guilt-free. But the list in and of itself is not something that's going to be super unique to you. You'll see all the champions we've already spoken about, and again, you can truly play whatever the hell you want in high elo as long as you're good enough to play it, except those that are meta are the ones you're going to be facing, so learn the matchups, ban who you're going to be seeing a lot in your region, and play around what actually makes them strong, and you should have no issue actually winning games here on a reasonably strong champion. Don't lock in weird stuff like Brandon and complain though that a Shinchao's running at you and killing you. Likewise, if you got to high elo with Talon cringe tactics, you can keep using it here, but people will be better at countering it to a certain degree. Feel free to use your Yoricks and your Fiddlesticks here as well. But to see how to handle all of this stuff, you need an ultimate early game jungle guide. Click it on your screen now.